Morning, everybody. Welcome to Daryl and Boo's weekly update for April 19th on a beautiful sunny day. How's it going, Boo? How's your weekend?
Yeah, it's good. Definitely got out and enjoyed the weather to some degree. Got out riding, did some yard work. Got the kids to help spread some peat moss around the grass, so that was good to put them to work a little bit. And then, kind of along the lines, I think I mentioned a couple weeks ago, we went on this Craigslist adventure, trying to pick up a good deal on a dining room table and missed on that one after securing a truck and everything. Well, no, not quite similar situation, but once again, my wife surfing Craigslist looking for stuff, found a couch that she really wanted, a big sectional couch, comes apart, 2 pieces. It wasn't going to fit in a truck, so went and checked it out and looked good. $500 for this great condition couch, and then we rented. I had to run around and go secure like a small cargo van from Home Depot, so I had to call around different Home Depots. They're super, like any home reno stuff, everybody's super busy. Nobody was picking up the phone or anything like that, so I had to go to 2 different Home Depots, got a van, went and picked it up. Loaded it up into the van, got it home. Everything fits fine. That was 5 hours of my Sunday. In beautiful weather, was just taken up driving around in a van, trying to find a van, loading up furniture and whatnot. So it's 6 of one, half of the other. I've gave up a good part of some good weather, but also got a good deal, which I love. So that was my eventful thing for the weekend.
Yeah, good for you. You still got something productive done. We ran around all over the place, a few little errands here and there. I had to go look at some appliances, but other than that, we were just kind of out enjoying the early summer, really. I made the mistake of going out on Saturday with, not wearing shorts. And by the time we were out for an hour, I realized that was a mistake because it was like full on summer here in Vancouver. So, but yeah, we had a nice weekend, kind of just all over the place. Ended up down at along the water and went for a nice walk along Seawall and down to Granville Island, and yeah, so it was great. Looks like we got a few more days of this at least before the rain starts to come back again here. But so we have one of our favorite guys on. Actually, the last time we had Tim Wagner on. He used to live in Chicago, but relatively recently moved to Austin in the last year or so. And they were having those horrible weather storms, like crazy power outages and the whole 9 yards. So Tim was still good enough to come on, and even though he had no power in the house, join the show. So looking forward to having a chat with him again and kind of talking a little bit about his ever-evolving role at F5.
Yeah, that's a good point. Tim, welcome welcome to the show. Daryl and I, for 10 years now, almost 10 years now, Daryl and I have pretty much had the same job title the entire time. Tim, how many job titles are you up to now that you've collected at F5?
Official job titles? I'm trying to think. So I'll just go through them out live. Let's see if I can remember them all. Mm-hmm. So I started as an SE. So as an SE manager, security sales, cloud sales, then director of cloud sales, principal cloud evangelist and technical advisor, and now Volterra, director of Volterra sales. So 7. Here's the funny thing about all of them. None of it was actually planned by me. So not a single job that I've done at F5 have I planned as like this big career, like here's what I'm going to do with my career. None of that. Just happened by someone asking and filling a void.
Yeah, well, you're being very modest, I think. Usually it seems to me, Tim, whatever is important to the company, areas of growth, very quickly you're slotted into that role to kind of take it on, which is a great thing for F5 for sure.
Well, I appreciate that. I think it's for me, it's like the Volterra role. It's, Mike Rao, for those who know Mike, right? He runs our business development group. He used to run our SEs. We had a relationship, and he's like, hey, can you help me? Because I was in a spot where I get to see and I know a lot of the field. So like you guys, right? I've been here almost 10 years. And I've been supporting you guys over that 10, well, maybe for 8 of those 10 years. So I know a lot of the things, a lot of the people in the field, because we don't have, everybody's got turnovers, but we don't have that high of a turnover rate. And so when you look at it, it's helpful because people know me. And so it's easier for me to maybe do things. So it's nice of you to say it's because of my skill set. I think it's easier when you know enough people, you have some credibility. It's easier to get a message out faster. And I think that actually plays into it a little more than my capability versus someone else.
That might be a skill set in itself.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, getting that message across. And a lot of the listeners, Tim was good enough to come up here in his various different roles up to Vancouver quite a number of times and spend time with our customers and virtually, lots of times after that. So as Volterra really kind of comes into its own here and evolves as a solution, I suspect we'll have you connecting with some of our customers in some capacity here pretty soon. So.
Yeah, I'd love to. It's been great. So I've probably done, since we made the acquisition and did the training, and so I helped write a lot of the internal training with Aaron Hooley, who I don't know if have you guys had him on the show?
No,
that's a good point. We should. Yeah, Aaron's a great.
He's pretty shy, but so him and I have been working pretty closely together on the training, and then obviously a bunch of other folks. But since I've done a lot of that, I did a lot of the initial conversations. So I've probably done 50, 60 customer meetings around Volterra, everywhere from like 2 days after we acquired it, and I really was still learning it myself, and you're trying to present it, which was fun. To now being a little more seasoned about it. I did have a funny story for you, Daryl, since you mentioned being in Texas the last time I was on and ice storms. Did I tell you guys how I ran for like 3 hours? I had like 3 important calls. It was right during the acquisition. We were announcing it. So I had like 3 hours of calls, and my internet would go out and be out for 4 hours. So you're dead in the water, right? The cell towers weren't staying up, so you would lose cell signal too. So you had nothing. So my truck, I drive a Dodge Ram, has like a regular power outlet. It can run about 10 amps. So I took a long extension cord from the truck in my driveway, turned it on, and ran it to my cable modem and one access point in my house. Then I powered my cable modem and internet off my truck for 4 hours.
That's awesome.
That was how I worked.
Wow.
Yeah. I would have basically said, okay, I'm out. I'll see you guys in 2 days.
Yeah, but it was fun. fun.
Yeah.
Then I got to be a plumber and all sorts of good things around that.
I suspect the weather must be starting to get warm in Austin. I've spent time in Austin over the years, and I love that city, but must be starting to warm up quite nicely down there now.
Yeah, it was a little cool this weekend, but we're in the 70s and 80s pretty consistently. And yeah, so sunny and outside. And I'm actually sitting in a jacket because I'm always cold, but that's just me.
Yeah, fair enough.
So what can I answer for you guys? Since a lot's gone on, I didn't want to come with an agenda. And then I saw Boo. I don't know if you texted Boo with a tweet or a Instagram or somewhere I follow you. I saw your favorite guest was Data. And I'm like, man, maybe that was your last guest. And maybe I should have had a bunch of slides with a bunch of data points for Boo to make him feel good.
That was I made a post on my Instagram about my favorite podcast is the Vancouver Real Estate Podcast, and I love that everybody has their opinion about real estate, but I was ranting about my mom having her opinion on real estate, but this guy had a lot of data that he was able to present about where the real estate market might go based on data that he's seen. So that was the context around that. But it would be interesting. I mean, you're on the ground, boots on the ground with Volterra right now, and the kind of ongoing discussions that we've had over the past few weeks have been all around Volterra stuff. We've had John Cowling on, we've had Jill Duran on, touching on some of the conversations that they've been having, and it seems like every customer conversation with Volterra can go in a lot of different ways. It's a very flexible and powerful solution. So interested to hear your take on that.
Yeah. So I want to step back maybe before I talk about Volterra and talk about the problem space. So I think the first thing that's interesting to me, and everybody that I talk to in the 60 meetings I've done or whatever it is, don't quote me on the exact number, they all say yes, is no one does multi-cloud on purpose. It just happens to them. And I know there's going to be someone watching going, oh, it happens to them. That's BS, man. Nothing just happens to you, but it does. It does for a lot of valid reasons. So if that's the construct, right, there's multi-cloud, you're not really choosing it, but you're there. So you don't have a choice. There's the consumerization of IT happening, meaning everybody wants their experiences to be like Netflix. And you as a business have to somehow make it happen. And what you really want is what we're calling a distributed cloud, which means anywhere there's compute, network, and storage, you can run parts of or your whole application, right? And so that's why I think it's actually taking off. And to answer your question directly, that's why you can go in 60 different directions during a call, because those core components, people have different views. Everybody agrees we didn't go multi-cloud on purpose, but it was there. So what do I do to fix it, to make it work and operate? We want to be distributed cloud. You might hear people say edge, and edge is, depending on where you're looking at it from, edge could mean different things to different people. But really, you want this distributed architecture managed logically. And that's the place we can play with Volterra. And that's really what it does that's different than anyone else, is it's got these three pieces it can do. And a lot of folks do one piece or two. They don't do all three. And so we get the really widely varying conversations, which is fun.
Yeah, I say I'm again still where, as Boo said, almost every week we're having a chat with someone about Volterra and their different role and their different perspective on it. But I always tend to really learn more about the solution as we talk through the solution with customers. And we never want to come to a customer and just say, hey, we've got this cool new technology. Do you want to buy it? Like, can you figure out something? So you always want to, you like to think that you know your customers well enough that there's something there that it actually makes sense for them to have a discussion. But to be honest with this one, I think we really actually will have some discussions with customers just about what the capabilities are, just because you can do so many things with it. A lot of our customers up here in British Columbia are pretty still early on in their cloud journey, just kind of getting to one cloud, and that process has taken some time. So some of the problems that it solves might not be something that they need right today, but so yeah, I think we're just going to have to start talking to discussion. And fortunately, we've got customers that actually do like to hear about things that are new, even if it's not an immediate fit for them.
Yeah, and here's what I would say to customers: it's not even about buying it, right? Like, I'd rather have customer conversations with people about how you approach the problem space.
Right.
And if that becomes the thing you want to buy, great. That's awesome for everybody. But it's not my concern, actually. And I know that sounds weird. But I know it can solve problems. And you said something that was interesting to me. So they're going to one cloud. When I say multi-cloud, I just mean two unique locations.
Yeah,
so,
good point. Yeah.
By definition, even if you're just in, let's just say you're just in Azure, well, you don't one day have everything in your data center, and then the next day you wake up and everything's in Azure. It just doesn't work like that. So by definition, you're multi-cloud.
Yeah.
Everybody is. And so you have a problem, and the problem space, whether you want to be aware of it or deny it exists, is you're going to run into complexity because each of the locations you have will have their own unique characteristics of architecture. And that's where people fall down. And that's where you run into security problems and configuration challenges. That's what spirals out of control. And that's the real problem I think we're fixing with Volterra and the way we approach the problem. It's less about the actual technology. Because the truth is, if you can hire enough people, you could go build it and solve it yourself. Sure. Absolutely.
Yeah, which is not reality for any of our customers. Resources and skill set is still the number one problem, right?
Yeah. And, I'm sure John, I didn't watch, but I'm sure John Jill talked about IP overlap being an issue. That's an issue everywhere.
Yeah.
But just that complexity problem is really what I've sort of honed in on as I talk about Volterra. As I listen to customers tell me how they're doing multi-cloud, super fascinating to get some of the big folks and some of the smaller folks talking about that, because there's the argument about lock-in. I'm sure you guys have heard this. Well, I'll just ask. You've heard customers say that, right?
Sure.
Mm-hmm. And it's a myth to think that you can never be locked in. So every vendor that tells you, us included, right? You don't want to get lock in. You're always locked into choices. It's like, think about your life. Anytime you make a choice, you lock into something. You can always undo any choice, but you're locked into it in the short term. It's no different with technology. So you can say you want multiple vendors because you don't want to be locked in. No, that's not why you want multiple vendors, multiple cloud vendors. You want multiple because they do different things better, right? Like Google is way better at AI than the other two, if you ask me.
Yep.
So let's use it. That's how you should be choosing, not vendor lock-in. You're never going to get away from it no matter what you do.
Yeah, and I think the reality is with most of the customers we chat with, they're at a high level understand, of course we don't want to be locked in. Nobody does. But you choose your first public cloud provider based on whatever set of criteria, just probably like you said, depending on what you want to do. If it's mainly O365, obviously you're going to go Azure, so on. Once you start down that path, like you said, the complexity kind of takes over. And then you go, okay, well, I can't really think about a bigger strategy in multi-cloud right now because I'm so focused on trying to get these little tactical things working properly, and secure. So kind of agree with you. It's not something I think we want to sell. I mean, if someone wants to buy it, great, but I'd love to have our customers have these conversations with their customers, get their feedback, get them thinking about this as a possibility. And if next year it makes sense to have a closer look at it, then, fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the idea of the multi-architecture too. We could almost, instead of calling it a multi-cloud story, it's a multi-cloud, multi-architecture story. Hey, you have, you want to refactor your application. That's all well and good, but you can put it all behind this one layer here. It could be whatever it needs to be on the other side of this, but out to your customers, to the end users, it's going to look like this, and everybody gets a consistent approach and performance look.
Yeah, and the most fun conversations are getting back to design and architecture principles for that reason. I was just talking to an SVP at a U.S. bank, actually, and I threw up a slide talking about this journey from data center to distributed cloud and the steps people are taking to get there. And I didn't say a word. I put the slide up and he said yes. That was his reaction to the slide. And I hadn't said anything yet. And I'm like, yes, what? He said, yes, that's where I'm going. And so right there, I stopped and I said, great. Our next meeting should be a design session where we whiteboard out your problem spaces and we get to whatever solution fits in, right? Whether that's Volterra, Big IP, Nginx, whatever it might be. I don't care. That's the beauty of F5.
Mm-hmm.
We can solve it in 20 different ways. Let's design what's right. Let's meet your design principles, your criteria you're designing for through your business outcomes, and we'll apply the right solution to make that happen for you. There's not a lot of people that do that, frankly. It's the biggest disappointment I have with IT is we run to the shiny tech and we run to like the cool thing that like microservices, containers. They're great. They're also useless in 50% of the cases people are doing it because they're just creating more problems and more things they have to go do when it wasn't required to get to the business outcome in the first place.
Yep. We've had customers who have taken an application, thrown it into containers and said, hey, it's now containerized. You took your entire, basically a huge application, just chucked it into this container, and then you have to build, now you're looking at service meshes because, hey, all of a sudden, all my tooling that I had that worked on everything, on my infrastructure that I had before, I have to go out and redo all of that for this new infrastructure that I just built.
You know what it reminds me of? You guys have been around IT long enough to know this. Remember when it was outsource everything?
Yeah.
We're going to outsource everything. Someone else is going to manage it. And that lasted for about 3 years. And then people were like, whoa, we're going to bring that back. And where we ended is some level of hybrid where you outsource maybe level 1 and 2 and you keep level 3. Like, that's what containers feels like to me. It hasn't figured out that outsourcing isn't the right thing yet. And it needs to come back.
Yeah, different story, I guess, if you're, a company that started up in the last 5 or 6 years and born in the cloud and you're completely application driven. But if you're a customer with a lot of legacy apps to try and move to containers, like, wow, that's a big undertaking.
But even if you're new, the question I have to people is, I'm not against containers. It's write down your actual objectives of that application. What is the goal of it? What are you trying to accomplish for the business? What's the priority? And then throw out the technology you're going to use and just say, what are the principles to make those things happen? And then go. What I think we do in IT is we say, I'm a container expert. So I'm going to take those business requirements and figure out how to slot them into a container answer.
Yep.
It's like asking your roofer to, to do your trim or whatever, right? It's going to look like he's going to do it in the same order he does roofing because it's what they know. Like it's more open minds are needed where you say everything's on the table and let's just walk through your principles, your outcomes, what you're after, and then what's the fastest, most efficient way based on the skill set you have. Because that's the piece we always miss. Container's great if you're Kelsey Hightower, right? If you're someone like that or you work for Google, great. You have all the access in the world to knowledge for containers. But if you're a small company who you have 2 IT guys and you expect them to know voice, servers, storage, containers, like cloud, good luck.
Yeah.
You just can't. So let's be reasonable to your knowledge base.
Just a couple minutes left. A couple things that I did want to touch on before we go, though. Agility. I would be remiss if we did not mention this before we took off here. Agility happens this week. Susan, I'm off this. I got some last things that I got to do for some of the labs that I am on, but this should be a good one. We got lots of labs, as always, and lots of speakers. Free event, obviously. But if you look through here, you'll actually see a number of Daryl and Boo weekly update alumni on here. Let's see, and they've made it to the big stage. We have had, where is he? John Wagner is on here. Actually, if anybody's listening, John has not been on weekly update. He's a shape solutions engineer out in Ontario. I know the presentation that he's doing, and I don't know if you've seen it, Tim. It's an amazing presentation on the dark web and all the research that he's done in there and kind of pulling together the ecosystem. And I had this chat with my wife yesterday, actually, because she was trying to wrap her head around what do people do with dumped passwords. And I was like, oh, I happened to just watch a presentation about this, but he talks through like, this guy does this or girl, and this person does this with the passwords, and then that person does this with the credentials that they validated now, and now that person has validated credentials, they sell it over here, and then all of a sudden that's going to turn into somebody's stolen or somebody's nefariously purchased gift card. It was the example. How does somebody have a gift card that they're selling online for half the price of what the gift card is actually worth? Well, I went to this whole chain of stolen identity and stolen credit cards and whatnot to get to that. So cool presentation. If anybody can catch that. John Wagner, Luke Lehman has been a past guest of the show. We've had on. There's one more down here, I believe. Oh, Sander Vinberg and Rick Salsa. As well. So lots of cool folks to follow there. Everybody else on here is great. So would encourage everyone, if you haven't already, check out F5 Agility. And also I'm wearing my B-Side shirt or hoodie. B-Sides Vancouver, May 9th to 11th. Registration is open now. It is free. And F5 is proud to be silver sponsor for this. So
are you guys back in person?
No, we are not.
Yeah, numbers are going the wrong way in Canada unfortunately. So we're tightening up restrictions versus loosening them.
Yeah. Oh, and actually, here, we have 30 seconds left. One piece of news since you're in Austin, Tim. Anybody got a take on Dell spinning off VMware?
Good Dell.
My wife works for VMware, and it's raised the stock price pretty significantly. So that's selfishly a good thing. But yeah, we've been talking about this for a while.
Yeah, it's about time. There was a confusing merger, so I'm a fan.
Yeah.
Hey, Boo, I'll also put in a plug. I watched the show, and I don't know if you and Daryl have watched it. One for Netflix and one for Amazon Prime. The Social Dilemma. Have you watched that on Netflix?
Yeah.
Okay. That one's good. And then The Creepy Line on Amazon Prime.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I did see Social Dilemma, but not The Creepy Line. There's more stuff coming up on Amazon Prime that is really good quality these days.
Yeah, it was interesting. It's interesting. Someone said to me yesterday, the documentaries about how big tech could be tracking your privacy on the big tech platforms talking about themselves is kind of an interesting little circle, almost like they're not really that concerned that you know.
Yeah, exactly. You can't do anything about it, but
Yeah.
Right. But that one was pretty interesting. And I think one of the guys they talk about is Canadian. So,
Yeah, okay.
cool.
Cool.
You'd be lying. There you go.
Awesome.
Okay, Tim, that blew by really quickly as always, but great to see you. I know you're a busy guy, so appreciate you coming on. And yeah, thanks everyone. Thanks, Tim. We'll see you guys next week.
yeah, always happy to talk to your customers in Vancouver as well. So reach out anytime.
We will for sure.
Awesome.
Thanks, Tim.
Thanks, Tim.
See you guys.